Hey everybody, it's Leroy from Leroy Gaming, and today I am bringing you my very first build video for Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Now this is going to be a Graveborn build that's going to multi-class Graveborn with Spellshot. It is my power summoner build. It's all about getting as many powerful pets out on a field as possible consistently, while also buffing yourself and the pets to very, very high levels. So if you like running around with a bunch of powerful pets, this is going to be the build for you. Now, a very quick disclaimer at the beginning here. Unfortunately, my channel is not big enough to where I get early access to the games. So I haven't been able to play the game yet. But luckily, the power of theory crafting is strong with this one. So I feel very, very confident that this build is going to be great for day one. With that being said, we're going to be talking about everything here. The class combinations, the skill recommendations, even spell and kind of gear types that you're going to want to keep an eye out. So everything you need to get started. So that being said, let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, now before we go into in-depth guide, I do want to give a quick TLDR or TLDW of the build for you guys here. This is using the Wonderland skill calculator. It is still a work in progress. Do check out the link to it in the description. So we're going to use Ambihextrous, and then we're going to have 5 out of 5 Essence Drain, 3 out of 3 Faithful Thralls, 5 out of 5 Dark Pact, 3 out of 3 Harvest, 1 out of 1 Dread Covenant, 2 out of 5 Stain of the Soul, 3 out of 3 Dark Hydra, 3 out of 3 Ascension, 1 out of 1 Punishment, 1 out of 1 Lord of Edges, 1 out of 1 Morheim's Blessing. Do note, this isn't the exact order of how you pick those up. In fact, Stain of the Soul you get at the very end. So you can watch the full video for all the details. And then on the Spellshot side, we got 2 out of 5 Spell Sniper, 3 out of 3 Magic Bullet, 5 out of 5 Phantom Mana, 1 out of 1 Mage Armor, and 1 out of 1 Glass Cannon. So that's everything in a quick nutshell. And now I'll go ahead and give you the full details, full explanation of everything in the rest of the video. If you're leaving right off the bat here and this is all you wanted, do drop a like and drop me a comment if you want to support the video, and the channel helps out a great deal. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of the video. So we're going to start by looking at the class feats that we'll get access to. Because the Graveborn is our primary class, we're going to start with the Demi-Lich Companion. So very important to note here, it states, the Fate Maker is accompanied by a floating Demi-Lich Companion that targets enemies at range and deals dark magic damage. Whenever the Fate Maker casts a spell, the Demi-Lich will cast Hellish Blast, creating a homing projectile of the spell's elemental type, dealing damage to nearby enemies on impact. Any increase to the Fate Maker's damage also applies to their companion. So what's important to note here is that, again, there's going to be a deep synergy with casting spells as often as possible, and also upping our damage as high as possible, which will also increase the damage of our main companion here. So that's important to note. Now, the second class feat that we're going to have access to is from the Spellshot, and it's called Spell Weaving. The main thing we care about is this first part. Casting a spell or reloading a weapon grants the Spellshot a stack of Spell Weaving, increasing spell damage. So we're going to be able to get multiple stacks of this, increasing our spell damage whenever we reload or cast spells. Now, keep that in mind because this is going to have everything to do with the action skill that we're going to pick. So even though we are a Graveborn main, we are actually going to use the action skill from the Spellshot that's called Ambihextrous. The Spellshot may equip a spell in their action skill slot. Whenever the Spellshot presses the action skill button, they cast that spell. So this allows you to have 2 distinct spells. So this is very, very important because you're going to be able to stack spell weaving stacks more often. And in addition to this, it's very important to note that there are actually spells, and in particular the Hydra spell, which is a companion. It's going to allow you to summon a companion. Now I do have to confirm whether you can have 2 of the same spells equipped. I'm assuming you should be able to, since they're going to be different item drops. So optimally, we would equip 2 different versions of the Hydra spell, and we would basically cast both of them. When we cast them, the very first interaction we're going to see is additional spell weaving stacks. Now, because the spells are hydras, spell damage will impact the damage of the hydras, what they do. So spell weaving will increase the damage of your spell hydras that you summon here, and it should also impact the additional hydras that you're going to see we're going to be summoning through the skill tree. So there is our very first interaction. Also note that reloading will also increase the spell weaving. So we will want to make sure that we're going to have guns that we can reload nice and quick so that we can keep stacking that spell weaving and keeping that topped off whenever possible. Now, I do want to point out, in case we are not allowed to stack two different spells of the same type, so if we can't equip two different versions of Hydra, then the second spell, your main criteria is going to be picking a spell that has a fast cooldown that you find effective, whatever's the most powerful, so that you can still spam it to increase the damage of your companion. So that is your backup option for this, because no matter what, we still want to be casting two spells as often as possible for this build because of all the other synergies that you're going to see right now. Now, this is a level 40 build, so I'm going to go over all the points we're going to put in here. We're going to be putting 26 points into Graveborn, and then the rest are going to be going into the Spellshot tree. The first 5 points are going to go into Essence Drain. You can put up to 5 points into this, and it's a kill skill. So spell cooldown rate is increased for duration whenever you kill enemies, or when you proc the capstone, as you'll see in a little bit. So this is big because, again, it's going to allow us to cast spells more often, which is very, very important. Next, we are going to go ahead and put 3 points into Faithful Thralls, which is also tier 1. The Fate Maker deals bonus damage for every companion they have. Companion respawn rate is increased. Now, remember what we learned about our main companion. Any damage that increases our damage will also increase the companion's damage. So this is actually going to buff the damage of both our Demi-Lich as well as ourselves. So this is going to be the reason why we want to spawn as many different companions as possible. Next, we're going to go into tier 2, and we're going to get 3 points into Harvest. This is an additional kill skill. Companions deal bonus dark magic damage for duration, and this can stack. Again, we're going to be killing a lot, and we're going to be also proccing kill skills through our capstone, as you'll see quite a bit. So this is another way to increase the bonus dark magic damage that all of our companions do. So even the ones that we summon. After that, we're going to go into tier 3, and we're going to put 3 points into Dark Hydra, and this is a big part of the build. It's another kill skill. You have a chance to summon a Dark Hydra companion, dealing dark magic ability damage to nearby enemies for a duration. So again, this is very, very, very big. It's another way of summoning more companions. Remember, this will count towards that previous bonus of the quantity of hydras that we're going to have to increase overall damage of all our companions. And again, this will proc potentially when we kill things or when we hit our capstone. Now, for the next point, we're going to stay in tier 3, and we're going to put 1 point into Dread Covenant. So for this, a portion of damage taken by the Fate Maker is redirected to the Demi-Lich. When the Fate Maker reaches 1 health, they immediately restore health, sacrificing Demi-Lich. The skill has a long cooldown. Now, this is something that we will probably want to spec out of eventually when you get really powerful. It's a nice kind of oh shit button, even though it's not a button, it's a passive that will save you, especially if you're leveling up early on. We may be a little glass cannon-y initially for this, so it's going to help you out in the early and mid game. But remember, you can respec for not too much, and you can always respec this point if you don't like it, or you can keep it. It's only 1 point, and it can help with your survival quite a bit. So that bumps up to us to 15 points total, which allows us to go into tier 4. And in tier 4, we're going to put 3 points in Ascension. We got yet another kill skill. Maximum health and spell damage are increased for a long duration. This effect can stack. This is big because remember, just think spell damage equals summoned companion damage because we're going to have one or maybe potentially two spells that will be summoning one or more companions whenever we cast those spells. And having extra max health is always helpful. We're also going to be focusing on dark magic, and dark magic is life tap. So being able to have a high health pool, so if we take damage, even if we're a little squishy, being able to heal back up and keeping high health and our maximal health totals high is going to be helpful here. After that, we're going to continue in tier 4, and we're going to put 1 point into punishment. When the Demi-Lich casts Hellish Blast, there is a chance it will be cast again after a brief delay. So a chance for a double cast. Now, remember, your Demi-Lich will cast Hellish Blast whenever you cast your spells. This is why that synergy of being able to have two different spells is so important. We're going to be using those two spells to proc this effect to summon more companions that will boost our overall damage as well as the overall damage of the Demi-Lich and his Hellish Blast. So you can probably see how this is going to start cascading and kind of getting out of hand potentially. Now, in order to get to 20 points, we're going to go back to tier 2 and we're going to put 1 point in Dark Pact. And this just increases the dark magic damage that is done. So this is really helpful. So just a flat out dark magic damage increase is really good. Remember, any damage that's increased for us will increase the damage of our Demi-Lich. So this will increase the dark magic damage that our companion does as well. Now this will unlock tier 5. And so we're going to go ahead and put 1 point in Lord of Edges. The Fate Maker gains increased damage dealt and damage reduction the lower their health is. This is one of the reasons why us having dark magic damage and dark magic attacks is going to be big. We're going to be able to take a bunch of damage and then heal it back up. But anytime we're kind of getting beat up and kind of face tanking as kind of a glass cannon-like character, we're going to be getting additional damage and damage reduction. So if you want to really play it on the edge and not heal up as much, you can do that here. And that will allow you to min-max your DPS. Just be careful because you could die. Remember, luckily in this build out, we have that one oh shit button. So if we ever drop to 1 health, it will sacrifice our Demi-Lich and kind of give us a chance. But it's going to come back basically from the dead, pretty much. But this will also allow us to have a higher skill ceiling for this build as you kind of learn to play with lower overall health. Now, at this point, what I'm going to recommend is to go back to tier 2 and get 4 more points into Dark Pact. And this is going to increase our dark magic done. So that's going to bring us to 5 out of 5. Now, the alternative is to put 4 out of 5 points in Blast Gasp. Now, here's my problem with Blast Gasp. In the past, in previous Borderlands games, whenever you have abilities like this, and this one's worded, whenever the Fate Maker deals spell damage, there's a chance to create an explosion dealing ability damage of the spell's element type to nearby enemies. The elemental explosion cannot critically hit. So number one, right off the fact it can't crit, that is a little limiting. And pretty much every time there's been an ability like this in previous Borderlands games, it has scaled horribly. So I am not a fan of these kind of proc effects. If they change this somehow and it ends up being amazing, just note you can come back and pick this up instead. But I'm going to reserve judgment. I don't think this is going to scale as well as just flat increases to your overall black magic damage. So that's why I am choosing Dark Pact here. But do note this is an option if for some reason this ends up being broken or glitched or in some way doing a lot more damage than I thought it was going to do. And that brings us to tier 6, the capstone, and what makes this all tick so very, very well. So we're picking up Morhalm's Blessing, 1 point capstone. Casting a spell automatically activates all of the Fate Maker's kill skills. Now you notice in this build we have a ton of kill skills. We also have 2 spells. So being able to cast those spells back to back, for example, allows you to just double stack our spell weaving stacks, as well as all of our skill effects. So even if we're actually not killing something at a given moment, it can still refresh all those stacks and increase them as well. You can probably see how this gets kind of nutty, as especially if we can decrease our cooldown or increase our cooldown speed for our spells. But wait, there's more, because the synergy with the Spellshot gets even better. So swapping over to some points into Spellshot, we're going to start by putting 3 points in magic bullets. A portion of all bonuses the Fate Maker receives to spell damage is applied to their guns. So remember that dark magic spell damage we were talking about to boost our spells, which in turn boosts our companions? Well, now it's also going to buff our gun damage. So the synergy goes all the way around here. Absolutely amazing for these 3 points. Next, we will go ahead and put 2 points into Spell Sniper, which is going to increase spell critical hit chance. Now this should increase the chance that our summoned companions via spells critical hit. If for some reason that is bugged, we would probably default to Prestidigitation, which increases your reload speed. But I like the idea of increasing spell critical hit chance to increase the overall damage of our summoned companions. I think that could be really quite good. We'll just have to see, as long as it's working as I think it should work. Now this will unlock tier 2. And in tier 2, we have kind of the coup de grace here for this build. Font of Mana. We're going to put 5 points into this. Now Font of Mana makes it so that you gain increased spell cooldown rate and also gain increased action skill cooldown rate. Don't forget, because of the way our action skill works, our second spell technically takes the slot of our action skill. So that one should benefit from action skill cooldown rate, while our normal spell benefits from spell cooldown rate. So this is going to basically make it so both spells are going to refresh more quickly. So this is absolutely amazing. Now, the next point is going to be Mage Armor. And it's 1 point. Whenever the Fate Maker gains a stack of spell weaving, they restore a portion of their ward. And this is going to be important. So anytime basically we cast spells, is going to proc. That's going to be the main times you're going to get some of that warding there. And this is important because of what the final point is going to be. So the final point is going to be 1 point in Glass Cannon. And Glass Cannon is a tier 3 skill. 1 point max. The Fate Maker's ward no longer automatically recharges. Instead, they're going to gain drastically increased spell damage. And remember, spell damage translates to gun damage as well. And spell damage are your summoned companion damage as well, because of the spell that we're using. So the only way with Glass Cannon that you get more ward back is by using Mage Armor. So it is going to make you more of a Glass Cannon. You're going to rely on your health regen through dark magic again, but this combination should spike your damage through the roof, even with the limitations of being level 40 and not having a higher level max. Now, technically I have to correct myself because we do have 2 more skill points remaining. So for the last 2 skill points, I would put them in Stain of the Soul. So the Fate Maker's spells deal bonus dark magic damage. So this is just nice little icing on the cake. It's not absolutely required for the build, but it will increase your damage. So those are the skill trees. Now, what do we care about when it comes to gear? The main thing you're going to want to look for, obviously, is you want to have any kind of items that are going to increase your action skill cooldown rate, your spell cooldown rate. You want to spam those as much as possible. Weapon damage is great, but actually spell damage and dark spell damage is going to be very powerful. So getting that on gear is going to be really important. When it comes to guns, if you can get a gun that does dark damage, that's going to be huge, because dark damage is going to heal you and also synergize with your various skill buffs here. So keeping you alive and also synergistically increasing your damage and then potentially your pet damage as well. We're not really using melee in this build, so if you can somehow get a melee weapon that will buff any of these stats, that's going to be huge. You can't go wrong with crit chance or crit hit damage as well. This is not a crit heavy build, but increasing crit chance isn't a junk stat. But what we do want to keep is we want to keep just one element as much as possible. Aim for elemental damage. Now, as far as legendary weapons, I haven't seen that many of them, but I was told by a viewer that there actually is a legendary gun that actually will spawn Dark Hydras as one of its effects. So any weapons that on hit or on kill proc even more companions, all the much better. Aim for that. You follow this setup here, I think you're going to have an amazing playthrough. I am going to be using this exact build on my stream when the game launches here. So make sure to check me out at twitch.tv/LeeroyGamingStream. Join me on stream. I'm going to be playing with viewers. You can come and play with me. If you're a lower level, come get a carry. If you want to go and show off your builds, come and join me. Going to be doing a nice big stream. Hope you guys check that out. If you guys found this video enjoyable, drop a like. Let me know in the comments what you'd like to see in future videos. Of course, they're going to get fancier and to a higher level of complexity, similar to my Outriders build videos once I start playing the game more actively here once the game releases. So do look forward to that and subscribe for lots more Tiny Tina's Wonderlands content. See you guys in the next video.